Okay, so this one is Parralax Occlusion Mapping. It's similar to bump offset. It's a little bit more refined, it's more expensive, it's slightly more complex, but it's not much harder to set up. But in this I've got parameters set up to control certain things. So in my POM inst I have these values that I control. The first one being depth. So you can see it does much the same thing, and if you push it too far it breaks. But I can create a depth effect. So if we get close, and this works really well on floors. If you look at that, that looks like, you know, that stuff's modelled. So what it's actually doing is it's creating a parallax effect where it's drawing some pixels in front of others to make it look like there's an occlusion taking place. And you can see that's really convincing. So it's great for floors. The problem is that when you get to the edges, you can see around these edges, it breaks the illusion because it's like it's a mirror or something that's inside it. It's because it's not actually displacing anything. But it works well, and it works, in this case, it works better than the bump offset. But it will break if you push it too far. So that's that. So the max steps are basically, these help with these slicing issues you get. If I look at it up close, you start to get these slicing issues. If you push this value up, it should help that, but obviously the more slices you have, the more expensive it's going to get. And then the other one, the min steps, is usually when you're looking straight on it, just, if you're having issues with it, push this number up as well. Probably won't make much difference on this one. And then a reference plane is just deciding where it is working from, whether it's working from the bottom and pushing out, or whether it's working from the middle. So I can see 0.5 here, and then it goes in and out, which is probably closer to what we actually want. It gives a more convincing, yeah, that works better. Or you can have it so that it starts at the top and works its way back down again. 0.5 for us is going to be the most convincing. And that's it. So if we look at the shader, again the shader is it's reasonably simple. In this instance anyway. There is everything set up as normal. And like the bump offset, we're feeding in this, which is Parralax Occlusion Mapping material function. Right click and just do a search for parallax, it will turn up. There you go. You have to feed information into it. So the information that goes in it, you can ignore these, just not using them. The information that goes into it is, we have a height map texture. Now it assumes that it's going to be the alpha of the texture that you provide to it. So if it isn't that, if it's something else, then you have to use the height map channel node to tell it which channel you want to use. But most of the time it is going to be the alpha. So if you know you're going to use it, just stick it in the alpha, it's easier. Now it's one of these texture objects you're using rather than texture sample. If I make a copy of this and I try to feed that into there, it won't like it. It's not a float 3, it's not compatible with texture 2D. So what we have to do is right click and convert to texture object, and then it'll work. It will feed, which is what that one is. So just a reminder, that's what you need to do for those things. They turn up every now and again. And then I've just got parameters for the rest of these things. Height ratio is the depth, min steps is min steps, max steps is max steps, and reference plane is reference plane. So nothing really that exciting. And they all just basically feed into the UVs, and that's the thing that creates the offset. So yeah, that's the basic, really basic Parralax Occlusion Mapping. And like I say, for walls and stuff it's very effective. It doesn't work so well on stuff like this, because it can go a bit swimmy if you look. So it's kind of a bit swimmy at the edges. So it's really, you really want to probably stick to just using it on things like walls. It will work fine.